Hello and welcome to Pro Trader Strategies Market Commentary for Tuesday, September the 22nd. I'm Eric Wilkinson, and you very well may recognize me as the Wolfman from mainstream media, where I've talked about the economic data, the geopolitical environments, and how that comes in to impact the markets with my market analysis. And I'm going to do the same thing for you folks out there, but I'm going to go a little bit further and talk about option strategies that I'm implementing into my portfolio along some guidelines that I've set out for you all to find a right strategy for that given assumption you have on any underlying. All right, so without further ado, let's get on with the economic data and see how that's impacting the markets today. We had some really good economic data here in the United States. We got the Richmond Fed manufacturing number coming in at 21, expected to be 12, so beating that headline number there. Also, here in the United States, we got the existing home sales. That number came out with 6 million homes sold. That is, I think, a 14-year high, and again, breaking the record on the prices of those homes there. That's going to continue probably as we see this hopeful recovery in the economy, but more so that interest rates are below 3% for 30 years, and who can beat that? I mean, you got to go out there and probably buy a home rather than rent at this at this juncture if you can. And that's about it. We did listen to Powell speaking, which was I listened to Powell speaking this morning, which was kind of comical on them questioning him on healthcare and how that's going to impact the overall economy, which he struggled with, which was kind of interesting. But anyway. Moving on, other than that, there wasn't a whole lot to come out of it, other than that he believes that we should have another stimulus package, which I believe as well. All right, crude oil coming off. Now, yesterday we talked about the whole head and shoulders thing in the overall equity markets, seeing some real weakness there, but real strong comeback, especially for that tech sector as people went back to the lockdown kind of trade where a lot of those stocks that we saw doing well during the pandemic started getting reinvigorated, and travel and leisure for Disney, drawing all kinds of blanks today. The airlines, we're seeing a lot of weakness. Today, we're seeing some major weakness across the board in the banks, and I'm wondering if, I haven't seen anything, but are the polls starting to show that the Democrats are starting to be the favorite in the election race there, because that is considered to be a major downstroke for banking sector if the Democrats end up winning there. So I think that they're seeing some weakness there. All right, gold futures did try to make a comeback yesterday, but today seeing more weakness, testing that 1900 level again. The more we push off this stimulus, the weaker it is for gold futures as far as I'm concerned, because they're going to really be driven by a weakening dollar and not really seeing that. Plus, some people throwing some money at the tech sector too as well, maybe taking some profit, taking it and creating a risk-on trade. That's usually when you're taking your money out of the safe havens, right, and you're putting it into the stock market. All right, bonds just slightly higher today, but still below that 176.20 area, this Fibonacci that I've been talking so much about. And I really expected this interest rates to start to fall, which means that we see the bonds start to move higher, right back to the point of control. Really struggling to get above that level there, though, as of recently in the past couple of weeks. And, I've been talking about it moving higher there. I have a long TLT trade on it. Put my money where my mouth is there, and it's just kind of struggling to get up there. All right, VIX slightly higher on the day. We've got the Dow Jones off by about 100 points, but you can see nice comeback in the Dow Jones. I was really expecting us to likely move towards the lower end of that spectrum on that candle here, and today at least maybe go down there and test that 200-day simple moving average. Looks like we're going to maybe get a little bit more comfortable here with the point of control. But again, just to refresh people, the head and shoulders here, if we have the head and the two shoulders, shoulders. Shoulder here and a shoulder over here, right? All right, breaking the neckline there. That was really kind of a signal that we were going to start selling off. We're getting a bit of bounce here and in the other equities. Doesn't mean that we aren't going to get maybe like a dead cat bounce here and start free falling back down. But again, not as pronounced here in the NASDAQ, but you can still kind of see one shoulder here where we got a shoulder, a big head, another shoulder. The neckline is pretty flat there, but finished above that neckline, but we could still see the market roll over and retest this 10,200, which is 250, which is a bit of a ways to go. It's going to see a lot of support, though, especially with more and more outbreaks here in the United States. The big news is that we just broke 200,000 deaths from COVID here in the United States. That was something funny that I heard on the testimony, as another committee member was grilling Powell and said 200 million again. It's close to a million globally, but they keep saying this 200 million number, and it's just ridiculous that people have died. 200 million. All right. So anyway, and referring to the United States on top of it. All right. So E-mini S&P is off by about 2.5 points, but again, it is pretty much unchanged on the day. Again, I was expecting us to kind of settle back down within these two areas of the Fibonacci's. My basic 23 and the 30, what is it, the 38, and kind of falling in between here, starting to fill out some of this area in and around that. Trade sideways again, our head and shoulders pattern here with a neckline. And like I said, doesn't mean that because we settled above that area, this 23.6 Fibonacci level is going to be a little bit weaker as a support and resistance, because we've got that point of control just below it, and we could see it easily toggling back and forth above and below that area. Again, I do think that we're going to settle down into this area right below, let's call it 3,200, so not too far away. Not saying that we're going to just really fall out of bed here, but I do think that we're going to see a gradual little bit of a downslope here in the equities, a little bit of bearish sentiment moving forward for the next couple of days anyway. All right, so here's that comeback we were talking about. Almost as soon as I got done with the daily market commentary, the market kind of flipped around on me, finishing near the highs of the day. Overnight inventory pretty flat for the most part. Day session, though, on that economic data, we started selling off. It could have been maybe Powell speaking as well, but the market really started sloughing off to the downside, despite the fact that we had pretty decent economic data. And again, pretty choppy markets throughout the rest of the day here. Now, a couple of things for that closure. Clorox doing a very good job today, moving up almost 2.5% on the day. Volatility relatively low in here, so I'm going to be leaning towards maybe buying some calls in here. I was chasing it earlier this morning on this trade, getting as soon as we went basically above that 9-day simple moving average. I was thinking that would be a opportunity to get into this, as that is part of that whole pandemic, right? People are going to be buying more and more Clorox here in the United States, or the Clorox wipes, which I've heard are almost non-existent at the grocery store because they're sold out as soon as they get them. So Clorox heading into another earnings. They did very well on the last earnings. I think that they will do well again heading into this earnings, and people will be buying into that as it's up almost $5 on the day. But I'm trying to get a little bit of a pullback. I feel like I'm really chasing this market. But I'd be looking at the DEES. And I'm probably looking around probably the 230 strike or the 240 strike. 230 strike, maybe getting above that 50-day simple moving average, or at least come up there and test that. So that's what I'm thinking for Clorox as a trade today. But again, it's been rallying pretty quickly, and I feel like I'm chasing it too hard. All right, so that's all I've got for you guys. Check out Pro Trader Strategies also, because we are doing a roadmap to trading options where I lay out all of the guidelines that you need to follow in order to be successful when trading options, okay? And please take a moment to go over the disclaimer, as we are an educational company. I'm not a fiduciary for you guys, all right? So make sure you know your risks. If you can't take that, take it easy.